So a week ago at this time, remember what we were doing? It was Sunday evening. I was sitting in this very same seat in front of the very same camera, and we were talking about Deebo Samuel, who had just re signed with the 49ers. Finally, that drama had come to a close. That was exactly a week ago, Sunday evening. So, a lot's happened since then. A lot's happened this year. Today, we come to you discussing Trey Lance. Deebo's old news. That was 7 days ago. The 49ers just finished their 10th practice of training camp. And I'm happy to report that the dog days of training camp are over. It was 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off. Well, the last 3 day block is behind us. Tomorrow, the 49ers have a player's day off. That's on Monday. Then they have 2 days of practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then a walkthrough day, so no media on Thursday, and finally the preseason opener against the Packers on Friday. So the long blocks of summer practice are over, and it's time to focus on refinement. Still over a month plus before the season opener on September 11th at Chicago. And the 49ers are likely happy that there's still a little while because Trey Lance had a really rough day today, and obviously Trey Lance hasn't had the most accurate training camp. There's been a lot to like from Trey Lance, but today was not one of the things to like. He had a brutal day, 4 of 12, 1 for his last 11, an interception to Fred Warner, almost the second interception deep in his own territory. They're running from their own 2-yard line to Charvarius Ward. Ward just couldn't hang on. And many misses high. At one point, Lance missed 5 throws in a row, and all of them were high. Something was up with the mechanics today. It wasn't good today. And I'm here just to really set the record straight because I know that the internet is freaking out about this. The internet shouldn't be freaking out about this. Are there concerning things? Yes, but the 49ers entered this whole equation knowing that there would be concerning things. And this is what practice and this is what the work is for. They have to iron out these mechanical accuracy concerns, which go all the way back to Trey Lance's college tape, to be able to unleash the positives with him and avoid the floor, because the floor right now is still low. Today we saw a low floor from Trey Lance. And, a lot of people will say, oh, the 49ers were missing both tackles. That's true. Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey had scheduled days off. But the defensive line was missing both of its best edge rushers. Nick Bosa and Sansom Ebukam were not in team drills. Dre Greenlaw and Azeez Al-Shire weren't in team drills. Emmanuel Mosley wasn't in team drills. So Diomedor Lenore was actually starting at cornerback opposite Charvarius Ward. So this was not a full-strength 49ers offense, nor was it a full-strength 49ers defense. And to give Trey Lance a chance to develop a little bit more confidence today, to up his rep count, Kyle Shanahan even kept Trey Lance in there for a snap of the second unit's allotment during the scripted period. So he got to work against the second team defensive line, right? The second team cornerbacks, the second team linebackers, and the poor throws continued even until then. So by every objective measure, it wasn't a good day for Trey Lance. 4 of 12, 1 for his last 11, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Through 10 practices, just if we zoom out and look at this cumulatively, Trey Lance is a 50% completion rate, exactly a 50%. He's 65 of 130 with 6 interceptions. That interception number is too high. And today we saw another one, maybe another 2 really close to happening, right? With Charvarius Ward dropping that one. But all the 49ers QBs have thrown too many picks. In fact, today Sudfeld threw a pick to Marcelino McCrary-Ball. And then Brock Purdy, it might have been tipped by Ty Davis-Price, but Brock Purdy threw an interception also near his own goal line. And that one went to Jeremiah Gemmel, undrafted free agent linebacker out of North Carolina. McCrary-Ball, if you're wondering, he's also UDFA linebacker. He went to Indiana. So actually, now I think about that, that was some Indiana on Indiana crime there. Sudfeld, Indiana alum. McCrary-Ball, Indiana alum. 2 Hoosiers going after it. They didn't overlap at Indiana, but it was an interception for McCrary-Ball. Anyway, the 49ers QBs have thrown way too many picks. In fact, it's probably worth going to the 49ers quarterbacks at 2022 training camp and just showing you here the summary of everything going on. Here are today's stats at the very bottom, including the move the ball splits. But the overall splits, Lance at 50%. Sudfeld's completed 73%. So he's been a little more accurate than Trey Lance, but the mistakes have still been there for Sudfeld. 6 of those picks. And Purdy, he's working against the third team. He's been okay, but again, Too many picks. For 64 attempts, you can't have 4 interceptions, including one today. The 49ers defense has already racked up 16 interceptions on camp, and we're through only 10 practices. Last year, through 17 or 18 practices, the 49ers defense had only 11 interceptions. As you can see, the INT rate, probably a more fair way to judge things. 4.6% for Lance, Sudfeld a little bit over 5, 6.3% for Purdy, 5.2% cumulatively for the 49ers, which is just too much. They need to cut down on those picks. Lance needs to cut down on those picks because we can go to last year's rate. Remember that Lance is a little bit under 5% this year. We'll take a look at what he did last year, and then we could also see what Jimmie Garoppolo did against the first team last year. 3.1% for Garoppolo, only 1.4% for Lance working against the second team last year. 3 picks and 219 attempts. That was promising. Sudfeld didn't throw a single pick. So obviously the defense has gotten a lot better. I remember Josh Rosen. He had a 4.8% interception rate. So, Rosen wasn't good in training camp last year. 4.8% was too high. And now all the 49ers quarterbacks are either at that or a little bit above it. So, to be exact with Trey Lance, he's at 4.6%. So a little bit better than what Josh Rosen was last year, but still it has to improve. And I'm going to go through some stuff to get people to not freak out as much because there are overreactions to one practice. As you know, with this show, I try to contextualize, put this all into one big package to make it make sense on the larger picture, because that's exactly what the 49ers are doing. So no, you shouldn't be one of those people that's saying, oh, everything's fine and dandy. It'll be, Trey Lance is exactly where he needs to be for the regular season, because that's just not true. He's not where he needs to be yet, but there's also still a month plus of practice. And this is also a long-term development project. So don't be on that one end of the extreme. And also don't be on the other end of the extreme saying that Trey Lance needs to be cut, or, I don't think anybody's saying that, but that would actually cost the 49ers a lot of money. But a lot of people are saying, oh, maybe Jimmie Garoppolo is going to step back into that QB role since he's still in the building. Guys, no. That won't happen unless there's some kind of freak injury to Trey Lance, right? They've moved on to Trey Lance. This is the bed that the 49ers have made. They've got to live with it. They still believe in it. They should still believe in it, because a lot of these shortcomings that we're seeing from Trey Lance right now, a lot of these struggles were completely expected. So I've listed a few facts. I believe either 8 or 9 total facts. 8. There are 8 total facts that I'm going to go through. Sometimes I like going through in bullet point style, because this, I hope, will put a lot of questions to rest and really reset where the 49ers are in this situation. Fact 1, 22-year-old Trey Lance is a volatile quarterback. And I inserted Trey Lance's age into there on purpose. This guy is 22 years old. He played 1 season of FCS football plus 1 game. And then he had this massive layoff in between his last FCS full season, 2019? Yeah, 2019, and his first NFL season in 2021, where he only started 2 games. So go back to Trey Lance's last time starting regularly, being QB1, was 2019, and now we're in 2022. And he's still only 22 years old. This is all extremely important context. So when I say that Trey Lance is a volatile quarterback, I say that he's got an extremely high ceiling, and we've seen that ceiling. We've seen the cannon arm. We know how smart he is. We've talked to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch so many times about that. And we've also seen the legs. We know that he can move around and he can bring a different dimension to the position. Whereas he has a high ceiling, though, Trey Lance also right now still has a low floor. The floor is demonstrated by the numbers. The completion percentage has been under 50% for most of this camp. He got over it with 2 good performances, or 2 better performances on Friday and Saturday, but today he's right back down to 50% after a 4 of 12 performance that had a lot of inaccuracies. So that's a low floor, but we've also seen the high ceiling. The combination of the two means volatility. There's not a lot of stability. There's volatility. It's up and down right now with Trey Lance, but he's only 22 years old. So both things are true. Both things work in conjunction with each other. We can't talk about how volatile Trey Lance is without mentioning that he's really young, that he's 22, and that he hasn't played a full season since, 2019, with full season at QB1 since 2019 with North Dakota State. All right, fact number 2, the 49ers can't fully showcase Lance's run contributions in camp. A big part of Trey Lance's game is in his legs, especially early in his career. You can expect an outsized portion of Trey Lance's effectiveness to come with his scrambling ability. It was the same for a lot of quarterbacks that are like Trey Lance, that have been like Trey Lance in the past, who have the physical gift of being able to run away from defenses. The most famous example, both I think NFL wide and who wore a 49ers uniform, was Steve Young. Am I saying that Trey Lance will be Steve Young? No, I'm not saying that Trey Lance will be Steve Young, but the same development prototype here exists. You have a QB in Trey Lance who has an extraordinary physical skill set of athleticism, who the 49ers are trying to turn into a lethal pocket passer. Every single time that the NFL has seen this archetype, it's taken more time to develop the quarterback's pocket passing abilities than it has to develop their legs, because Trey Lance is as fast as he's ever going to be. You don't get much faster past age 22, maybe a little bit faster with some speed training, but you get the point. His speed, his youthful bounce, that's as good as it's going to be right now. His pocket passing and his accuracy and his mechanics in that sector of the game, that still has a long way to go, and that's what you would expect. So every quarterback in this boat has usually showcased the good with his legs first. That's just how it works. And the 49ers during this training camp can't fully showcase Lance's legs. A, there's no live tackling. B, they're not going to expose Trey Lance to unnecessary hits. And C, they're wasting the time of their defense since he's going to have a non-contact jersey on anyway, because you can't hit the quarterback. Trey Lance's scrambling ability won't be something that actually shows up until real games actually start. So since the 49ers can't fully showcase Lance's running contributions right now, we can unequivocally say that we cannot make final judgment on anything. Again, it's still August 7th, right? So we're only seeing part of the story right now. We can talk all we want about accuracy and how Trey Lance does need to get more accurate, how the mechanics do need to be tightened up, how he needs to become more consistent in live action situations. But we can simultaneously say that we haven't seen the full package yet. And he's going to be a lot better, I think, when he could actually run the ball a little bit. And it's going to be a tough balancing act for Kyle Shanahan to make sure that he's developing as a pocket passer while he, also has those legs at his disposal. You can't just have him run all the time. He has to develop as a pocket passer, but you do have to accentuate the fact that he does have those tools that a lot of pocket passing quarterbacks don't. So that's the fine line that you are straddling as both the coach and the quarterback that can actually run underneath him. So we'll see. This is something that the 49ers signed up for, and I think it's very intriguing because Trey Lance does have those tools. Now it's just a matter of corralling them. Fact number 3, Lance's accuracy struggles are concerning. Anybody who just completely discounts them is biased in this situation. If you want to be unbiased right down the middle with this, you'll watch Trey Lance at practice. You'll see him sail these balls high, and you'll go back and watch his tape at North Dakota State, which obviously I'm very familiar with. I recommended that the 49ers draft Trey Lance way back in January 2021. Before they made the trade, before anybody was talking about it, I said that the 49ers should draft Trey Lance. And I said, accuracy is an issue. I've watched him on tape, and he'll make some dimes. I mean, he'll just drop some dimes in there. There'll be perfect throws. There'll be arm talent on display forever. I mean, Russell Wilson type of trajectory on some of the deep passes at North Dakota State. But, all too often, there was also the throw that got away from him. Something mechanically wasn't completely polished. I'm not going to act like I'm a throwing expert, but I do know an inaccurate pass when I see one. And that was scattered throughout his college tape. It's now scattered throughout the 49ers preseason program. It's really, really tough to judge Trey Lance for what happened in 2021 because his finger was broken in 2021. And that's something that I'm going to get to in a little bit. There was a good article up on The Athletic from Jeff Howe about those struggles today. But when what we're seeing with a healthy Trey Lance right now is matching some of the issues that we saw in college, we take note of that. And it's really what we expected, right? So Lance's accuracy struggles are concerning, but this is something that the 49ers signed up for, that they knew that they would have to iron out of Trey Lance with more reps. And that leads us to fact 4. The 49ers believe that Lance's accuracy struggles are fixable. So 3 and 4 can be true at the same time. And this is the issue with our discourse on social media, that people just rush off into camps. They think that you either have to love Trey Lance or hate him. And if they rush off into camps, then they cling to either fact 3, that his struggles are concerning and he'll never get away from them, or they cling to 4, that the 49ers and they think the accuracy struggles have already been fixed. They just essentially bury their head in the sand and think there's not a problem. Whereas we have a combination of 3 and 4 that are actually true. There are accuracy struggles. They are concerning, and the 49ers believe that they can fix them. Why do they believe they can fix them? Well, because they've seen Trey Lance on his good days. They've seen the volatility, and the volatility has upswings, right? And on those upswings, Trey Lance has looked damn good. He's put the football into spots where it's supposed to be. He's made some really, really tough throws for the 49ers already, even in game situations. Against Houston, he made a couple of really nice throws. But in that very same game, there were also the concerning misses to Kyle Juszczyk in the flat in the first half. The first half in general wasn't very good. So we've seen the same thing kind of repeat itself here throughout training camp and throughout practice. But I, came on yesterday, and that was after Trey Lance had a better day, and I talked about the command that Trey Lance has shown as far as being a field general. And he absolutely has developed that tenfold since 2021. So the 49ers believe that Lance's accuracy struggles are fixable because they see how he carries himself, not only as an athlete from an athletic standpoint, from a mechanical standpoint, but also how he carries himself as a person, as a field general. And that field general, that aura is already there, and I don't think it was fully there in 2021. It's fully there. The 49ers teammates love Trey Lance. They follow him. He's their leader. Talked to Brandon Ayuk today, and he said he's not worried about Trey Lance at all. Why don't I pop open the 49ers camp report from today and read you what Brandon Ayuk said, because this kind of stuff is significant. I guarantee you that Brandon Ayuk probably knows the game a lot better than all of us right here, because Brandon Ayuk is a stud wide receiver, and he knows Trey Lance really well too. So if Brandon Ayuk says you shouldn't be too worried, it's probably somebody that we should pay some attention to. So this is my 49ers camp report. Brandon Ayuk isn't worried about Trey Lance's inaccurate day. By the way, I'll drop that link into the comment section so you can go ahead and check it out. And then I want to read you the Brandon Ayuk quote. I put it down here. It's highlighted in blue. Let's go for it right now. The best thing about Trey, he walked off the practice field and was still the exact same way today. He talked about it. Talked to us after a couple plays he wished he had back. Talked to us the same way as if he were to hit a play. What he saw, what he didn't see, what he liked, that was on me. Maybe we should be here. He was still talking to us, trying to figure it out. Level, even-keeled dude. We don't worry about him at all, really. We'll look at it. He came in and said, let's take a look at it later on today. Then we move on. That's what practice is for, day 10. One thing I've learned is that you never know what these guys' arms feel like. The same way for us receivers. We go out there some days, our legs are tired. They may expect us to come out of our breaks a lot faster than we did, and our legs are a little bit tired, so we can't do so. So the same thing for them quarterbacks. You never know what those guys' arms are feeling like. They're coming out here throwing a bunch of balls, so we just got to go look at it, get it corrected, and then come back with the day off and get better. The voice of reason, Brandon Ayuk. This was day 10 of camp. And I go back to fact number 4 that's on the screen beneath me, and I'll keep the article up there for you. 49ers believe that Lance's accuracy struggles are fixable. In fact, Brandon Ayuk went as far as to say that, we're just going to keep on getting better every day. This is what development's like. No sport happens, success doesn't happen overnight. It's not Madden where you just create a player, stick him in there, and he dominates. This is an actual, real, competitive sport where the 49ers have drafted somebody that needs to develop into the NFL. Part of the problem in this situation, in my opinion, is that people were way, way, way too trigger happy last year with trying to thrust Trey Lance into the starting lineup via social media. And there were so many incorrect narratives out there, like it's easy to play quarterback for Kyle Shanahan's system. Jimmie Garoppolo doesn't have to do anything. Trey Lance is going to walk in and take his job right away. So then it got to the point where Lance took like one first-team snap just to practice the read option, and people who didn't have a clue of what they were talking about went online and said, oh, this means that he's on his way to take over the starting job this year. Trey Lance made one nice throw in practice, or Trey Lance made one nice throw against the Chiefs, and people who didn't have a clue of what they were talking about said, oh, he's about to take the starting job. And it's like, no, the NFL doesn't work that way. The NFL is a slow build, especially for a player of Trey Lance's background, right? He doesn't have a whole lot of experience. It's going to take a while for him to become a down in, down out quarterback that can play at a really high level in the National Football League. But because people had assigned these preposterous expectations to every single snap that Trey Lance took last season, they all of a sudden think that he should be further along than he actually is, that he shouldn't have bad days. But he's going to have bad days. And the bad days, when they happen, the 49ers are going to say this. The 49ers are going to believe that his accuracy struggles and those bad days are fixable. Because fact 5 fits in perfectly with everything else that I'm saying. Lance was raw to begin with, and his finger injury complicated his early NFL development. There's another great article up on The Athletic that came out today that you need to read from my friend Jeff Howe, who's our national writer. I'm going to pop this one open right now, get it up on the screen. The headline is a simple one from Jeff. Why Trey Lance's offseason work was pivotal to becoming 49ers QB1. He talks about the chipped finger against the Raiders in week 3 of the 2021 preseason. He talks about the fact that Lance, really had to change his throwing motion. It's funny because that's, I think, probably where a little bit of the arm fatigue talk came from, even though it was taken so far out of context that you have to read about it in this article. It makes total sense. It's stuff that we already knew, but Jeff does a great job of taking us from point A to point B to point C about Trey Lance's development over the course of his first year. And the bottom line is that you could summarize it with fact 5. He was raw to begin with, and that finger injury complicated that first season. So you go to struggles. Well, when you consider what happened in year 1, all of a sudden you realize the 49ers are in a position where they believe there's still plenty of runway to iron out these difficulties with Trey Lance. And even if he had a full first season without injury in 2021, they probably would still need runway to develop Trey Lance because, again, he hasn't played a full season since 2019. Despite all of that, Trey Lance has shown high-end potential, and that is indisputable. We've already seen him do some crazy stuff out on the practice field. We already saw some crazy stuff in 2021 just with that rocket arm. This year, my favorite Trey Lance play, the most impressive Trey Lance play, was this seed that he delivered to Brandon Ayuk that just hissed over Charvarius Ward's head. I was standing right in front of that play. It was developing right in front of me. It was great because I was able to see the velocity that Trey Lance could put on a ball moving downfield. And at that moment, I said, okay, I've seen a ceiling type of throw in person right in front of me. The guy can do that. Not a lot of guys in the league can do that. This is what Kyle Shanahan loves. But I've also seen the floor type of plays in front of me. So it's a matter of eliminating the floor and living near the ceiling. And that ceiling is extremely high-end potential for Trey Lance. Fact 7 is something I discussed at the top of the show. This binds everything together. The 49ers believe that Trey Lance's mental makeup can close the volatility gap that we're currently seeing. So the volatility gap is indisputable. Anybody who's saying it's not there doesn't know what they're talking about. But anybody who's saying that it's unsolvable is also just operating completely on conjecture and not on fact. And this is the truth. The 49ers really, really believe in what Trey Lance has up here. They really believe in what he has in here. The heart, the brains of Trey Lance. The 49ers drafted him in large part because of those two things. Everybody will talk about running ability, arm talent all day. But what isn't talked about enough is the mental makeup that the 49ers search for in not only Trey Lance, but in all of their drafted players. And this is something that the scouting department has actually done a really good job at since 2017. They have gotten a lot of players who fit the team personality-wise, who fit the profile to be able to work and persevere personality-wise ever since 2017, ever since they took over. Yes, there have been some swings and misses. Every front office has whiffs. But for the most part, guys like Darqueze Dennard, veteran defensive back who joined the 49ers for week 18 last year and now is back with the team and says that this is his best experience since college at Michigan State 9 years ago. Guys like that, veterans like that know something. Richard Sherman, knows something, right, about NFL locker rooms. And the 49ers have done a hell of a job building a locker room with the right personalities. So they have some cred as far as that goes. Lynch and Shanahan have some cred. Well, they think that the same skill set, mental makeup, whatever you want to call it, that has worked for so many of the players that have turned this into a championship caliber team, they believe that Trey Lance has that as well. So far, it looks like all the 49ers players agree with that. Have we seen the fruits of that yet at the NFL level? No, but that brings me back to fact one. He's 22 years old, and he's in his first training camp. And that also brings me to fact 8. In his first training camp, it's August 7th. 8-7, Dwight Clark Day. See what I did there? Fact 8. But it's August 7th. So all this hand-wringing is insane to me. It's August 7th. The first game is not until September 11th. We can be smart. We can simultaneously do a good, detailed job of tracking Trey Lance's development without becoming hysterical about the individual components of that development. And that's what fact 8 is about. It's only August 7th. And the 49ers believe that to cross this river, right, they have to cross the river to get to the area and the land where Trey Lance is a firmly developed quarterback who's leading the way. They believe that Trey Lance's mental makeup will be able to spearhead that effort. Don't forget, throughout all of this, if we want to make comparisons around the league, don't forget the Josh Allen developmental trajectory. A lot of people want to compare Trey Lance to Patrick Mahomes. They want to make that Mahomes, Alex Smith comparison, right, between Trey Lance and Jimmie Garoppolo. And there might be a lot of what Alex Smith did in Kansas City and what Jimmie Garoppolo did for the 49ers last year, sure. But I've always thought that the closer developmental comparison for Trey Lance himself has been Josh Allen. Josh Allen was a raw prospect coming out of the Central Valley. 559, shout out to them. That's my area code, by the way. Not going to give out my number here, but it does start with 559. If you go back to, him coming out of the Central Valley, not being offered by Fresno State, going to Reedley College, junior college there instead, then headed to Wyoming. Josh Allen was a prospect who needed a lot of polishing before he could succeed at the NFL level. Well, look at Josh Allen's year by year. And, I could toss this up on, this is Pro Football Reference. I could toss this up on the screen because I think this is going to be particularly insightful. There we go. Josh Allen throughout his 4 seasons in the NFL. Right here, look at completion percentage. 2018, 52.8%. So he started at 52% his first year. Where's Trey Lance right now? 50% in training camp. That jumped to almost 59% in year 2. Then that jumped to 63% in year 3. Finally, the accuracy jumped to, well, actually, it dropped here. He's had 2 60+% seasons. 2020 was his best season. So year 3, it jumped to 69%. 53 to 59 to 69, the 3-year jump for Josh Allen. I've always thought that due to the rawness, due to the lack of experience, and also due to just the pure physical skill set similarities, I've always compared Trey Lance to Josh Allen more than I have to Patrick Mahomes. Might there be a hybrid of both? The 49ers would love it if that's the case, but I would encourage everybody to remember the Josh Allen developmental trajectory. And if that's the case, then it's going to take a year or 2 or 3 for Trey Lance to get really accurate. But this takes us back to what Kyle Shanahan said on day 1 of training camp, that the 49ers need to guide Trey Lance through at least the first part of the season because they have built-in growing pains. They know that this is not going to be an easy process. They know that there are going to be struggles here. So they guide Trey Lance through the developmental process. That means that the skill position players on offense take on an outsized role. The run game is good. They try to get that pass game nailed down, but, especially in the short pass game, that's where Trey Lance, that bread and butter, needs to be there by the end of the season. But most importantly, that defense and that special teams unit helps be the locomotive that pulls this train. Because Trey Lance, he has the ceiling of a superstar in this league. That's undeniable. Whether or not he reaches it, that's the question. But it may not be for a couple years until he actually reaches it. Not everybody just wakes up one day, enters the league in year 2, after sitting for a year and becomes Patrick Mahomes. If anything, the Josh Allen developmental model was always more realistic for Trey Lance. And when we consider that, all of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's comments make sense. The defense and the special teams and the run game will lead this team, and they're going to give Trey Lance runway, right? They're going to give him runway to take off. The bigger the jet, the longer the runway it needs. But those jets they have long range, right? Those big 747, those guys need the SFO runway. They can't take off out of San Carlos Airport. They need the big, long runway to go. Well, Trey Lance, he may need some runway. Josh Allen needed some runway. Patrick Mahomes might have been the exception and not the rule. And even he needed that year of runway. So don't forget this Josh Allen trajectory. I think that is really important. All right, the dog days of camp are over. Fun stuff. 49ers, 10 practices. We've learned a lot over these 10 practices. Done a lot of fun shows over these 10 practices. See the comment section's blowing up. Why don't I just take a quick little break? Remind everybody to subscribe to The Athletic. The camp report is right up in that chat section for you right now. And you could also check out 49ers QB's 2022 training camp, the most in-depth log of 49ers quarterback performance in camp that there is. Sub to the channel. Follow along on Twitter. I wanted to talk a little bit about Jimmie Ward. I think that let me share the video because this is funny. This was good stuff from Jimmie Ward today on NFL Network. Where we got it here. Video file. I have a lot of files on this computer here. It's been a busy few days, but Jimmie Ward today on the Rams. Here it is on NFL Network. Let's pop
22.
Open. Jimmie Ward on the Rams. All right, listen in.
No, it was hard. It was heartbreaking. At the end of the day, you know, they figured it out, and they was the better team that day, and they won. But other than that, I'm ready to play them. I don't got no love for them.
You want them?
Oh my God! I was gonna bring that question up, but it's already. I need to say it. No love.
No. The only reason I said that, you know, I don't really, you know, think about, you know, I keep everything on the field, but I just remember when we won both of those games last year. Like, you know, I was looking at some of the main players. I wanted to go and shake their hands and all that, but they walk off the field. But when you finally win the game, you want to shake our hands? All right, I got something for you. All right.
And Tom will end it with that.
It's a good place to leave it.
Appreciate that.
Jimmie Ward,
Thanks,
man.
Jimmie.
Thank you very much.
Woo! Oh boy, it's going to be a war of words. I mean, it started a couple years ago when Aaron Donald either didn't know or pretended not to know who Deebo Samuel was. Obviously, he knows who Deebo Samuel is now. Then it really escalated through all those 49ers wins, I think really pissed the Rams off. And then the Rams got revenge in the NFC Championship game. And now the 49ers are going for payback of their own. And there's already been talk both ways. Aaron Donald talking about how he doesn't like the 49ers. Obviously, Jimmie Ward, no love lost for the Rams. So good stuff. That was on NFL Network a little bit earlier today. Anyway, went through those 8 facts with Trey Lance. Do I wade into the comment section or no? That's the question. I haven't seen any comments yet. So maybe we'll take a look at them, see what you guys have here. And we'll put the welcome to our 2022 49ers coverage on the screen. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing, following along. Tomorrow's a day off, much needed day off, but the content will keep on rolling. Fernando, Ward was a beast on the interview today. He told the Rams to keep that same energy. Well, I get a kick out of it. I like when everything turns into a wrestling match, right? So that does add entertainment to what's already feels like a titanic rivalry between the 49ers and the Rams. It was already so viewed last year, right? The viewership numbers were through the roof. Well, if there's a war of words before these games in 2022, the viewership numbers are going to get even higher. This is good stuff for the NFL, for the 49ers, and for the Rams. Everybody wants to be the center of attention in the entertainment business, and this is the sports and entertainment business. Does McGlinchey appear to have his strength back? Yeah, I think McGlinchey, to me, looks like he's somewhere between 305 and 310. Has some good size. There was really a false kind of narrative out there that he was underweight. This wasn't true at all. He was underweight in 2020. He wasn't underweight last year, and he was about 310, maybe 312 last year. And McGlinchey literally was on a scale a few months ago took a picture of the scale or a video of the scale and it said 310, 311 pounds, and he posted it online. What other evidence do people need to see? Sometimes people are so caught up with their feelings and not facts that they'll literally have a picture of a scale that says a certain weight for a guy. Like, no, I'm going to disregard that piece of evidence. So I do think that he has his strength back, and the 49ers are working him back into that full-time mix. It'll be anarchy during the season. It's going to be crazy. But that's why, hopefully you enjoy this channel. We try to mellow things out, try to just give that rational take, and usually we're right about stuff on this channel as opposed to a lot of other places on the internet. I mean, it's crazy how much information you can get on Twitter that's just flat out incorrect. Trey Lance is going to start 2021. Mac Jones is going to be the 49ers pick. I could go on and on. Jimmy Garoppolo's not coming back from his thumb injury last season. I mean, everything was wrong, right? That you saw on a lot of these social media sites. But if you just follow the actual clues, then you'll, get to the right spot. This offseason's been even worse in ways. If you talk about arm fatigue and talk about, the Jimmy Garoppolo rumors, even though the 49ers just couldn't trade him. That's why he's in the building right now. I mean, it's been wild. Nobody's pretending that it's been calm online, but hopefully we talk about even-keeled, cooler heads prevailing. Hopefully they can do so through some of our coverage here on the channel. No practice tomorrow. Well-deserved rest day. Thank you. Whew. I'm tired. I've been at the facility every single day since last Sunday, and Sunday was the only day here during training camp that I haven't been at the facility. That's the day that Debo signed, so that obviously wasn't a day off. So I'm still going to be cranking out content tomorrow. I'll probably be up in the city, having a good time at coffee shops, but it'll be nice not to have to go into the facility. Given our luck, breaking news will hit tomorrow, so it will really be no days off. But who cares? I'm here to cover football. I'm not going to complain. See right here, this is crazy to me. Josh Allen had this essentially the same completion percentage his first year, not just his first 7 days of camp. And Josh Allen's obviously worth a lot right now. Who's to say that Trey Lance won't develop into that? You got to give him a chance to develop into that. The book is not closed on Trey Lance just because he had a bad practice or a bad training camp, or even if he has a bad season here in 2021. I know everybody wants instant gratification and instant results, but there's a whole lot more gray area than instantaneous assumptions and judgments on a single player. Is the 49ers offensive line going to be able to handle an elite defensive line? That's the big question. Here's the thing, and this is something that I wanted to mention in my whole spiel a little bit earlier. Think about what Jeff Howe wrote about the injury that compromised Trey Lance's rookie season. Then also realize that it's very well documented that a pair of injuries compromised Jimmy Garoppolo's very likely final season with the 49ers. So last year, the 49ers had two hurt quarterbacks. They entered this offseason with two hurt quarterbacks. Trey Lance still had to let that finger recover. Jimmy Garoppolo obviously had to let the shoulder recover. Why did the 49ers enter this offseason with two hurt quarterbacks? Because opposing defensive linemen injured them. Why did opposing defensive linemen injure both of the 49ers quarterbacks in 2021? Because the 49ers let up too much pressure. It all comes back down to the offensive line. So the 49ers and their ability to handle an elite defensive line, well, they've done enough to win a lot of games, to make it to a Super Bowl, to make it to an NFC championship game over the past 3 years. But they've usually done so by neutralizing opposing defensive lines, the elite ones, with a great run game, with some Shanahan misdirection, and let's face it, with good quarterback play. When Jimmy Garoppolo has played well, when he's been healthy, that those two have usually come at the same time, right? When he's been healthy, he's played well. His quick release has been able to beat a lot of good pass rushes. So the 49ers offensive line still has not really proven that it could pass protect at a truly high level in the National Football League. Will it need to pass protect at a truly high level in front of Trey Lance? Well, the theory is that because he's got greater escapability than Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe it won't need to be at a truly high level. But in my mind, it's got to be at least mediocre. It can't be terrible. It's got to be at least mediocre. And that is against elite defensive fronts like the Rams, who bring you Aaron Donald twice. Donald's going to be working against Laken Tomlinson and whoever's at right guard for the 49ers, maybe Spencer Burford. He could line up all over the place. So can the 49ers do enough on the offensive line to set Trey Lance up for some sort of success? Because you're going to need that. That's the big question. I don't know if they've answered that satisfactorily, but the main thing is that it's August 7th. So we don't know yet. We don't know the answer to this. These are the burning questions that will determine whether or not this 49ers season ends in glory or if it ends in bitter disappointment. But ever since before training camp, since 2 years ago, 3 years ago, all off season, everybody's yapping about the quarterback, arm fatigue, this, that. And I'm here saying offensive line, guys. There's a reason both Garoppolo and Lance were hurt last year. And there's a reason that Lance won't have a fair shake and taken off if the 49ers don't figure out some stuff up front. And that is the offensive line. So that's what's so important right now. While everybody's zeroed in on Lance, and I know this whole video was about Lance, the reason I talk about O-line in every single video is because it is an absolutely mandatory component of what the 49ers need in front of Trey Lance. The Buffalo Bills built a really strong offensive line in front of Josh Allen. The Kansas City Chiefs have done their best, but remember the Super Bowl against the Bucs a couple years ago? Everybody was hurt. Mahomes had no chance. Well, Lance is not going to have a chance either if the line is a complete sieve. So it's really important that the 49ers take care of business on that offensive front. A lot of comments. I love it. Trey struggling in the short and intermediate game is going to limit this offense, at least until he improves there. Absolutely. And, when I talk about a volatile quarterback, I guess we should use the adjective, it's going to be frustrating to watch this offense at portions this year, because if Lance is struggling in short to intermediate, it's going to lead to some 3-and-outs. It's going to lead to dry spells. But then Lance is going to show up and he's going to wow you with a big time throw downfield and probably a stretch of some hot football, right? Just like the second half of that Houston game. First half was terrible. Second half was great. You're going to see both of these coexist. We've already seen both of these coexist throughout the course of training camp so far. I'm sure they'll continue coexisting throughout the season. That's going to be frustrating football. The key for the 49ers, though, is to raise Lance's floor so that we don't see as many of those frustrating moments and let the defense, the run game, and do its thing. And for that, both of them do their thing, right? And for that, you need to connect on those short to intermediate passes to keep the line rolling offensively, right? You got to keep those chains moving on offense. So that's where Trey Lance needs to get better. I think he is getting better there, but it's not a linear project. Everybody expects this to be linear, straight stock graph up, but the stock market's not linear either. When the stock market starts climbing, which it might, who knows when it's going to start climbing again, but right, it's going to be up, down, up, down. You're not supposed to check it every single day or you'll go crazy. The stock market over time, you see the stock rise. Well, Trey Lance stock, you would hope that over time it rises, but there are going to be daily dips. And today we definitely saw a daily dip. Burford is a starter as of right now. Every single first team rep at right guard throughout the first 10 practices of training camp has been taken by Spencer Burford. So I would expect him to start at right guard come week 1. Kinlaw was good today. Javon Kinlaw had a manly run stop today, and then he was pumped up coming off the field. He looks light on his feet despite being 320 pounds and being a massive human. He's finally healthy. Kinlaw, somebody to be really, really excited about. I mean, he's, put on even more muscle. He was always gargantuan, but truly monolithic NFL physique now about around Javon Kinlaw. Drake Jackson, bendy. I think he's got a lot of potential. Those flips, I think, say it all about his athleticism. He's done some good stuff in the one-on-ones here in practice. But games and rushing opposite Bosa consistently, those are the two things that are really going to tell us what we need to know about Drake Jackson in his rookie year. We know that the athleticism is there. We know that he's a sponge. If you want me to tell you about Drake Jackson, the guy is a sponge. I mean, he just talked to his dad at practice, Dennis, the other day. Dennis made it up, drove up from LA. And Dennis, D-line coach, had a cup of coffee with the Raiders, tried out for the Raiders back in the day. Still a Raiders fan, but I think Dennis is going to switch over to 49ers allegiance for, I'm just speculating, for the New Year's Day game against the Raiders, against the 49ers. Raiders, Niners, New Year's Day in Vegas. But anyway, Drake has always been a student of the game. He's been a sponge, and now he gets to learn from Chris Kasarik, Nick Bosa, and company. Evaluate Trey in 4-game increments. By the time he gets a few starts under his belt, he'll be fine. I tend to agree. There's a reason why I thought the 49ers should draft Trey Lance so early in the process, and it's because I thought that he would develop into a nice quarterback. So just take our time. We'll wait. These seasons are marathons. They are not sprints. All right, guys. 45 minutes. That's a good length show. Everybody take care. Before you leave, why don't you check out The Athletic? There's a couple things that I want you to do. I want you to subscribe to The Athletic. I'm putting into the comment section the camp report from today. I want you to smash the sub button and the like button on this channel. So a lot of you are already existing viewers. So why don't you smash the like button right now if you haven't done that yet. Follow along on Twitter and on Instagram. Instagram is the same as Twitter. Lombardi himself. It was a tough day for Trey Lance, but the sun will rise again tomorrow. And that means that there's going to be more content coming for you then. More good 49ers content. All right, everybody, thank you. Have a great Sunday evening. We'll talk to you.